blooper reel. Chelsea and Kevin are gone for a week. Oh, I guess we kind of already said that. The crackers are gone. The
You ate
pretzels are
everything.
gone. I didn't eat everything. I ate the pretzels, a sleeve of crackers.
Right.
Big deal.
All of the vegetables were still in the fridge.
Some got thrown away. And I love vegetables.
I made this beautiful breakfast and I took a bite and I was like, all of these taste old. Damn it. You ruined my whole beautiful breakfast I made. Welcome back to the Body by Beer podcast. My name is Chelsea, and this is my best friend.
And hey, everybody, I'm Liz, and today we have a super exciting episode lined up for you. We're going to be talking about some major transitions, one of which being Kirin's U.S. production to the new Belgium Brewing facility in Fort Collins in Asheville, North Carolina, and what it means for the craft beer industry.
Yeah, well, we'll also be diving into a special Brews and Bites. This whole episode is basically Brews and Bites themes, which is pretty pumped. We're going to talk with the talented Chef Jared Kendall, who will be preparing a mouth-watering Idaho rainbow trout paired with a refreshing Mexican lager.
Yum. Plus, we're going to be exploring the art of beer and food pairing. As Chelsea said, that's what this episode is all about. And it's going to be in the Sips of Wisdom. It's going to be in the top 10. Everything you named it is going to be a flavorful and informative journey through beer and food. So grab your favorite beer and join us on this episode of the Body by Beer podcast. This week, we're drinking
the same beer. And Liz gets to try to pronounce it.
I think it's Koenig Pilsner out of Germany, Deutschland. It's delicious, refreshing. It's super freaking hot out today. It's 100 plus. You wouldn't know it in the garb and attire that we're dressed in, but it's cold in the basement, and the AC works wonderfully.
These beers came out of our monthly Beer of the Month Beer of the Month Club. Beer of the Month Club. Liz upped the ante, got us the international one, and the international beers have been absolutely great. So if you're going to get it, would recommend that bit of an upgrade. Not that the local ones aren't good as well, but it's nice kind of trying out some international beers.
Yes.
So if you're interested in getting your own Beer of the Month, link is below. Check it out. We get a little kickback. It's a great way to support us, and we really appreciate it.
All right. Welcome to this episode's Brew News, which we hope is your go-to source for craft beer industry's latest news, insights, trending articles, etc. Every other week, we like to get into what we think are the hottest topics, most relevant, maybe most controversial, new brews, brewing techniques that we like to talk about.
Yeah, very.
That you might like.
Yeah, you might like it. Maybe don't. I don't know. In this episode, we have some exciting updates that are shaking up the beer world. We're going to discuss the big news of Kirin's U.S. production shift because their contract is done with Anheuser-Busch, and they're moving it to New Belgium Brewing, which they bought, I don't remember how many years ago.
2019,
and they're moving all the production over there. And what does that mean for the entire space in itself? And then we're going to discuss how declining beer sales have led to a surplus of hops, and imparting some prices and are impacting prices and the availability of those hops to brewers, and maybe some ways to use all those excess hops.
Just our 2 cents. So our first article today, we're discussing Kirin is moving their U.S. production from Anheuser-Busch to New Belgium starting in January of 2025.
Yeah.
So New Belgium is taking over this U.S. production of Kirin Ichiban and Kirin Light from Anheuser-Busch in 2025. It highlights definitely a strategic shift in beer production landscape, right? Yep. You're cutting out the middleman, which emphasizes the importance of local productions for international brands. Mm-hmm. This isn't the first of this type of story, and what's interesting is we kind of want to break down a bit of the timeline. Anheuser-Busch has had the contract to produce Kirin in the U.S. since 1996. Yeah. And apparently the contract ends in 2024. It's an interesting set of numbers. I think it's, I don't know, right around like that 30-year mark. It's probably like a 30-year contract or something that they had. But Kirin, i.e. Lion, which is an Australian company, a subsidiary of Kirin, purchased New Belgium in 2019.
Yep.
And now the contract with Anheuser-Busch is ending, so they're going to take all the production of Kirin and put it into the New Belgium facilities in Fort Collins, Colorado here, Asheville, North Carolina, and then New Belgium also just purchased a production facility in like Davenport, Virginia or something like that. So you're going to be able to get Kirin locally, fresh, because of some strategic advantages.
Which means it doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't because it came from Anheuser, but it might be even fresher potentially, right? Because we don't know exactly which facility it was brewed at.
Yeah, I didn't get that far into it. For us, it's super fresh, right? Because Fort Collins is right up the road. It's less than an hour away. But what's interesting is really that cutting out the middleman, right? Mm-hmm. It's a shift in production as a result of Kirin's acquisition of New Belgium in 2019. Yeah. So for us, these local benefits, which to your point isn't a newer thing, right? Because Anheuser-Busch has been producing it in the States since 1996. One, good for Kirin, right? Like they figured out a long time ago how to figure out the cost of like supply chain, right? They thought, well, it takes weeks and months to get our product over into the States where it is a highly sought after product, and went, we can have it produced in the States by Anheuser-Busch and people can get it there. We're cutting out these costs of the supply chain. And now they took it a step further and said, hey, we already own these facilities, New Belgium and Bell's up in Michigan. Not sure if they're going to produce there. They might. They very well might. Yeah. Cutting out the middleman totally. So now they get to reap the benefits of their profits even more.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for them why they came in and bought them in the first place. They're one of the bigger like microbreweries in the country. Yeah. It also shows that they have a focus on renewable energy, which is awesome because there's so much in the New Belgium facility that was groundbreaking.
Yeah, it was the first wind-powered brewery in the U.S.
Yeah, and so
I didn't know that. That's super cool.
Really cool. I think it's an interesting shift, and what it also made me think of was we saw Budweiser start buying up these like bigger bigger craft breweries over the last probably 5-ish years. My timeline with COVID gets a little bit janky in there.
I would say 10.
Probably
years.
10, yeah. But they started buying them up, and it makes me wonder how much of that was to also offset this Kirin contract. Like, how big was that in their entire production? So they needed to be able to offset it with other stuff. I don't know. Maybe not.
I definitely hadn't thought about it in that way. I guess definitely more on, like, cheer team Kirin Ichiban, right? Like, oh, wow, good for them. Like, cutting out the middleman. Yeah. And it's totally this market positioning shift, right? So you're transitioning from this high-level, high-tiered brewing
monstrosity.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, what's the big adjective here that we can their adverb. So it's transitioning from AB and Bev to New Belgium. It's like this underscoring of evolving dynamics and competitive strategies within the beer market. And I did want to also say it, like, Kirin isn't the first to do this, nor the last by any means, but Sapporo is now produced stateside by Stone Brewing in California. Probably, again, not the only facility, but Sapporo came in and purchased Stone Brewing just a few years ago for $100 and some million after Stone wasn't doing as well, right? Standing alone on its own. It had some failed ventures over in Berlin.
Which we went to.
We did. Somehow we hit this like 3-year timeline that it was open. And
also makes sense why we walked by and we're like, whoa, Stone Brewing, like the Stone Brewing?
No.
We're like, nah, that can't be it. We walked in and we're like, oh shit, it is. Why are they here? It was very strange.
Anyway.
And then we hit the 3 years it was there, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 years.
It was a sweet facility too.
Yeah, and then Brewdog took it over.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And then I think it's Japanese Brewing or Japan Brewing, which is Sapporo. Then they purchased Stone, and then they produced Sapporo in California. And it was like a huge deal. They didn't tell people at first. They just started like, hey, this is our new beer that we're producing, right, trying to figure out the quirks, the kinks of the recipe, whatever it was.
Oh, that's a cool story.
And then word got out that it was Sapporo, and people just lost their shit.
Oh, man. Imagine trying it and being like,
Rightfully
this
so.
is pretty solid. I really want some sushi right now. This is awesome.
Do you suppose it has that effect? Instantly, I want sushi.
I want some sushi right now.
I don't know.
That's what I always get a Kirin or a Sapporo when I'm doing sushi.
100%. And actually, I prefer a Kirin over a Sapporo. Not that I don't like Sapporo.
I usually choose Kirin as well, but
lighter. Anyway, so a couple takeaways. It's a transition of production. You're cutting out the middleman, right? That's that marketing position shift that's happening. And honestly, I was super excited about Kirin's movement here, right?
Yeah.
Like, pretty strategic if you ask me, right? And good for New Belgium, right? They get to expand their brand as well, and the recipes that they could get to produce. So pretty exciting news. That's a big one.
Yeah. It's also, I always find it interesting when you have the Lions Brewing Company, and then you have Kirin, and then you have New Belgium, and so it's like, ooh, like,
so many
so when you hear all the subsidiaries, it's always kind of a funny rabbit hole of who owns what to like finally get to the truth of.
Oh,
when something comes out that you're like, yeah, New Belgium, they're local, then you're like, oh, they're not.
At the end of the day, the end of reading this article, as excited as I still was like, the world is still owned by the 1%.
Yeah.
Depending on what 1% of what category that you want to choose, a subsidiary of this, of whatever, right?
Always
like,
cycles through.
Good for them.
Dots pretzels.
Life is about perspective. Exactly. And how many Dots pretzels have now exploded because Dots sold out?
Sold to Hershey's, if you didn't know.
Yeah. Okay,
and that might have been a while ago.
This is not a pretzel podcast. Perhaps it might be because it's food.
We have had pretzels multiple times.
Exactly, right? Like, it's just...
Man, now there's all these other brands doing the pretzels.
I'm sure there's a fancy word for it, but I am not an economics major nor a business major, and I just kind of take life as it is and try to make the best of it.
My guess is they had like some sort of like patent-esque thing.
Yeah,
exactly. Then when Hershey's bought
it's
it,
the twist, right? Because they all look the same.
Yeah, Hershey's was like, oh no, we'll sell that out to a bunch of people.
Of course you would.
Yeah, and so they're
of course you
not
would.
making money outside of just the packaged goods. Anyways, it's not from North Dakota anymore. No. But we have tried some of the other ones, and Dots is still the best. We do have some pickle ones that are pretty good.
I just had some rolled gold dill pickle ones.
Those are pretty good.
Really good with beer.
Yeah.
Shocker.
I did the Kruger one. They were garbage. Don't do the Kruger one.
Kroger?
Yeah, the Kruger one.
Well,
They were just pure salt. They weren't good at all. I didn't like them. And I like salt nose too much.
If you like salt.
It was still too much. It was just like the only flavor was salt.
Oh.
It's not like the Dots are unsalted. Like, they're still salty.
There's
but the other ones.
ton of salt on them.
Exactly. But the
I
other
think
ones
they're
are
great
just
bar
pure salt.
food.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Oh my god.
Enzo loves them.
Yeah, there you go.
And I get to eat them because she likes them, so that's been nice.
When they were gone, I ate the whole bag. I felt really bad about that.
And all of our crackers. And most of our mac and cheese.
That was not true. I had one box of mac and cheese, and I replaced
There was
it.
only 2. I'm just kidding. There's more. I only had 1 box. There was only 1 left.
That is not true.
It's not true, but it's funny. For our story number 2 for our brew news is the decline in beer sales has led to an excess supply of hops. Something that we kind of sillily overlooked when we thought about the declining in sales. Like, that was probably very obvious in hindsight. That there was going to be this huge excess of hops going on.
Didn't really think about it before.
I just didn't really think about it. And, so basically what's coming out is that it was predicted in 2023 that some of our hops that are more widely used and widely available, and have all these farmlands dedicated to growing these hops, needed to get reduced by 20%. And they actually think that that was a low estimate, that they needed to get reduced by even more. Because now all these farmers are sitting on all these extra hops of these widely used.
I heard they recently decided to add more hops to it.
Hops for a lot of like IPAs, somewhere in the realm of like 54 million pounds of excess hops just sitting around that now they're having to unload for really cheap.
Yeah.
But some of like the more specialty hops are having to go for a higher price. Nobody's wanting to buy them because they can get these more common ones for really cheap because they're trying to get rid of the surplus of inventory.
Right.
So now it's created this imbalance of not only supply and demand, but an imbalance on the pricing models for farmers to be able to survive on what they're producing.
Right.
Because they're not able to sell for what it's actually worth, what the quality's worth, what they invested into it. And so it's making it even harder. And I think for beer drinkers, you're going to end up seeing a lot of like, I feel like if you thought you saw a lot of the same like hazy IPAs before, you're going to see a lot of the same IPAs.
I feel like we already are. I mean, like some of my favorite local breweries, I'm like, oh, another hazy. And I get it, like hazies are good, but I feel like for me, it's dead on the vine. Like,
yeah.
It's got to be a really freaking good hazy for me to get excited about it. And I think it's too far and few between. And to your point, if it's just the same old classic ingredients, how are you going to wow me?
Yeah.
So it's this interesting paradox within the beer world that's happening.
And then also within the pricing that beer prices have gone up, right? But it's like, it's kind of odd that it's gone up at the same time while some of the hop prices have had to drastically reduce to get rid of this surplus.
Yeah.
But we know grains, we know there's hop yields, there's like grains and malt yields, like all of those have effect into what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's not just the hops alone. There's employee pricing, there's insurance, there's electrical, there's a bajillion reasons why beer prices have gone up, not just because of hops, but it definitely makes for an interesting kind of imbalance and conundrum of what's going on, of what people knew. And the article brings up this fun point of, I mean, it's not fun, but like it used to be like 40 breweries. So when these hop farmers would get their forecast, it was like 40 breweries and they were able to kind of forecast more accurately. Now you have 10,000 breweries, and the craft beer space did actually start taking a big chunk of the market from those 40 breweries. But let's also be honest.
So you're talking about an outdated, basically, project plan, right? Like they're using a project plan for hop farming in general that's probably 30 years old.
It's outdated, but it's also we've all heard the saying of like a lot of craft breweries. Well, craft breweries are run more as a hobby than a business. You're putting a lot of, you probably had really good financials from 40 powerhouses where there's people that are professionals at forecasting. Mm-hmm. And now you have a bunch of amateurs pretending like they know how to do a forecast.
Doing their best,
right? But in a booming industry that then also came to a screeching halt. Yeah. So like I don't want to say it's all like completely in their own control, but it added a ton of variables into what was happening.
Let alone people are drinking less, right? Let alone there was a pandemic. People drank a lot more, but it still put a lot of hops on the side. There are a lot of interesting variables. You brought up some really good points there that I hadn't thought about before.
So anyways, we're like, hey, there's all these excess hops, and you can get them for cheap. I wonder, what other products one could make with hops.
Oh, yeah. Let's put our little entrepreneurial hats on, right? Because if you've watched before, you've chatted with us before, it's first and foremost on our mind.
Yeah.
How can we get in on the entrepreneurial spirit? So, there's an excess supply of hops.
Yep, for cheap.
Same beers being used over and over again. Mm-hmm. We're just getting into the nitty-gritty of brewing, right? We haven't gotten very far. What else can we do with this supply of hops?
Yes, we need more on our plate. Ideally, our food plate. So let's make some hop-infused oils.
Love it. Love it.
I think that's really fun.
I love it because for those who don't want to put any sort of alcohol into their system, right, really this is the difference between being a vegan or a vegetarian, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's that line drawn in the sand. And if you want to be totally NA, but maybe you're used to cooking with beers with different hop varieties, but you don't want to put even the slightest amount or even having to go buy beer into your food and cooking, whatever you're doing with, you can have these oils and you can still honestly get a more pronounced flavor of these hop varieties that you're looking for. That is what I love. Feel free to do it. We're probably going to get on board with it.
I have some fun Body by Beer hop-infused oils coming up soon. My other favorite was bitters.
Yeah.
Bitters was really cool.
Not necessarily for the NA people out there.
Not great for the NA, but what a cool way to like spice up potentially your old fashioned. Instead of just orange bitters, let's put some citrus hop bitter in it instead.
I love that so much.
Let's make like beer inspired cocktails because it's made with hops. Oh, look at that.
Hop inspired cocktails. It's just we're gonna spell, don't you take this, hops. It's gonna be like HAWP.
Oh yeah.
Hops. Or it's just gonna be
HOP.
HOP.
Get McLovin to be our spokesman.
Nah. Anyway. There's a lot of other ideas out there. You could do soaps, vinegars,
holistic things, teas, stuff like
yeah.
that.
Think of what you would use herbaceous things for.
Ooh,
right?
herbaceous.
Like, you're talking about herbal essence here.
Yeah. So, anyways, interesting think piece. Interesting. What can you do with it? And bummer for the farmers. I mean, it from the article, the farmers were kind of trying to blame the breweries for not knowing their forecast well enough, but at the same time, like, you got to own your shit. You signed the contract. I can't put that all on breweries. Everyone was riding the wave.
Yeah, everybody was riding the wave, right?
Don't point
and
fingers
if you're going
after.
off of a 30-year model, that's not just on one person or the other.
Yeah.
It takes two to tango, and you both read those forecast models. So
yeah.
Can't predict a pandemic.
Truth.
Unless you got that kind of money, then I want to talk to you.
Someone might have.
Somebody totally like won the 1,000,000,000 to 1 chance.
So that's it for this week's edition of the Brew News. I hope you found these updates as fascinating and fun and thought-provoking as we did.
Totally. And as always, stay tuned in the next couple of weeks for more insights and stories from the craft beer and beer world. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share. Let us know what topics you want to talk about. We'd like to cover that next.
And as we brought up last week, there is new merch on the shop. So please feel free to go jump onto our website, bodybybeerpodcast.com. Click that merch button and check out some of our shirts. Check out some of our swags. Wear it around. It's a sweet logo. You know you want it.
It's a voluptuous logo.
You love it. Come on now. Get in on some of that. But for now, we're going to have an extraordinary interview and Brews and Bites segment combo lined up for you. We are thrilled to feature the very, very talented Chef Jared Kendall from Thistle and Mint and
Periphery
Kitchen. Periphery Kitchen. Chef Jared is known for his culinary creativity, and why we learned about him and really fell in love with him is for his expertise in crafting the perfect beer and food pairing for our mouthfuls.
He truly is a master in his art and craft. Chef Jared is going to be preparing in this episode a mouth-watering dish of Idaho trout stuffed with savory pork sausage and grilled to perfection using his own signature crafted chili sauce. And I'm here to tell you that sucker made me sweat, and it was so good. The fat, the spice, the fish, the salt, delicious. So it's accompanied with some grilled potatoes, some shallots, some asparagus, right? Think all locally sourced. That's very big for him. It's all just the earthy, just robust and popping, especially with that spice. And it wouldn't be called Body by Beer unless we paired it with some beer. So we're not doing just one Mexican lager, but 2 Mexican lagers, one with a zip of the lime, and it's both from Gold Spot Brewing Co. in beautiful Denver, Colorado. So, without further ado, this is Chef Jared Kendall.
I want everything to burn, a controlled burn, but with that lager, it's very crisp, very light.
Yeah.
But want that contrasting charcoal flavor.
Absolutely.
And so like that fish, I'm not gonna touch anything right now.
Just let it go.
Just let it go.
Let it do its thing.
All right.
So what do you got for us today?
So got some trout with morels and pork, and then seasoned with my blackening spice.
Okay.
And got some asparagus, got some fresh spring onion, or nice grilling onions. So I'm just gonna throw this all on the grill.
On the grill.
And then we'll add some more stuff to it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so back me up. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I'll start off with my name. I'm Jared. So I grew up in Colorado. I have always loved living in Colorado. It's not really a state that I've wanted to leave. I started cooking because my mom made us cook a meal a week as a family.
Nice.
So we would be in charge of getting all the ingredients, making the plans, doing everything. So that really got me interested into it. A little chili oil. Lay that fish down. sear off these onions well.
Why do you leave the green the one is that all going to go into it?
Yeah, that'll all go into it, or I'll use it for something else. But yeah, keeping that green, well, it'll be different flavors, so like it's more grassy the further up you go.
Okay.
I got some potatoes have been boiling for a little bit. I haven't like really seasoned. I season the potatoes in the water, so I don't really have to add much to them.
Okay.
Adding salt afterwards kind of takes away the crisp.
Okay.
So like you want to salt it right before you eat it.
Okay.
And then Alton Brown was a huge influence
Okay.
in my decision to become a cook.
Okay.
I love the nerdiness that he brought to his show, all the science behind it, and I just fell in love with cooking. I got a job in a hotel and decided that's what I really wanted to do after working there for a couple months.
Right on. So how do you take your family background, you have this celebrity influence, and you get to do it in your home state, stay in your home state. How do you then incorporate that local ingredients, sourcing locally, into what you're all about here?
Yeah, so that was kind of when I was living in Woodland Park at the time, and obviously I was surrounded by mountains. I couldn't escape that.
Sure.
And so I started foraging, started finding wild ingredients that got me really interested.
Cool.
And I decided that I wanted to bring that to people's tables. Worked to meet a lot of farmers and to really just like build up that relationship and learn about the ingredients that grow best here in Colorado. I would limit myself to using those ingredients
Sure.
as much as I can, like 99% of the time,
Yeah.
and getting as local ingredients as I possibly can.
Do you have trout coming in throughout the year? Do you think that's a pretty easy ingredient to come across?
Yeah, so this isn't Colorado trout, this is Idaho trout,
Okay.
which is a lot easier to get. I was getting trout from a guy down in southern Colorado.
We're
He's just
bagging
run out. The base oil is sunflower oil. I think it's like a 450 to 500 smoking point.
Okay.
So it makes it better for flavored oils as well. So like I can add a bunch to it, and then it still has that high smoking point. So when you add things to oil, it lowers that smoking point because those volatile things in there burn faster.
With as many relationships that you built, that you keep that 99% is pretty easy, or do you run into trouble? Or
In the winter, it gets harder.
sure, yeah,
Later, actually, not even like February is the hardest month for me
okay,
because throughout the summer, throughout the fall, I like build up my preserves. I have pickles, I have jams, I have like fermented vegetables galore. And then by February, I start to run out of those.
sure,
And nothing is really like growing too well in February.
just depends on how deep your pantry is.
Yeah.
I suppose how many events you're doing.
And how many events I do.
Yeah,
This year was a real struggle because like it was the first time we had the food truck.
sure,
And so like had to balance both events and the food truck. Food truck, I have taken that limitation away, but we still try to source as closely local as we can.
sure.
So in the Rocky Mountain region.
So was the goal then to get to this point?
The goal was a restaurant, a full service restaurant.
Okay, but we haven't got
That
there
is
yet.
still the goal.
Okay,
We
okay.
haven't gotten there yet.
How close are you, or how?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling things out. Hopefully a couple of years,
Okay.
5 years at the most.
Yeah. So you have this 6 days a week, and you're
Right.
doing pairings how often a month?
2 or 3 times a month.
And that's at how many
And-
different locations?
That's at 6 or so different breweries.
Okay.
So we spread them out every quarter.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
like I'll revisit like River North. We'll go back to every 3 months.
Okay.
D-bolt we go back to every few months.
Okay. Okay.
Just keep them on a nice rotation. Also, like, if I do too many, which I was doing
Yeah.
last year, I was trying to do like 1 a month, and I ended up doing like 5 or 6 a month. We couldn't pull people's attention in because there's just too much happening.
I see.
And then it took away from time for me to do private events and catering as well.
So you're still doing that on
Still
top of
doing
it
all
too.
that as well.
So are you working 90 hours a week?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Um,
But all for the pursuit of the dream. I get that.
yeah. Someone's dream.
Do you have a favorite method of cooking? Do you prefer
Fire.
fire over the open fire?
Any way that there's going to be fire involved. So yeah,
Because of the
over an
flavor
open
or the
fire,
look or the adrenaline?
flavor and then the feeling you get.
Sure.
Like you really have to like maintain that fire and like focus on what's going on. You
Absolutely.
can't really turn away. It's not set in and forget it. It's not sous vide where you just like throw it in a bag and forget about it for a couple of hours.
Right.
You have to pay attention to what's going on. You have to maintain your heat. If you want a hot flame or high heat, like you got to start hours earlier.
Right.
So with asparagus, a little more. You're gonna be a little more gentle. Overcooked asparagus is awful.
Yeah.
And so that's the last thing to go on here.
Do you still have to go and like get those ingredients, or are they bringing them to you?
It's about 50. I have a few that are bringing them to me. The mushrooms are brought to me.
Awesome.
But the main farm that I work with is just down the block.
Oh,
So I go to them
sweet.
because it's convenient. And also, like, I like to spend time on the farm as
Sure.
well. They have a couple locations. One's a little further away. But also, like, they allow me to go and forage their land and grab whatever I want.
That's cool.
Almost.
Do you want to throw anybody's name out, or?
Well, yeah, it's Frontline Farming.
Okay.
So they're a fantastic farm. They advocate food rights
Cool.
and getting food to everyone, and farmers' rights as well, advocating higher pay for.
So for our viewers watching, what are some tips and tricks that you can give them when it comes to what's your process in creating these pairings?
I go about it a few different ways. One, brewery will send me their tap list, or I'll go into the brewery, learn their tap list.
Sure.
From there, I can like base off of the different styles what I can make.
Sure. Let's say if there's more higher ABV beers, you kind of have a general idea what you're going to go after. If it's more lower ABV beers.
No, I don't really pay attention to the ABV
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
I pay more attention to like a flow of the beers. So like I can go, instead of creating like a classic flow of low to high or white to dark,
Okay.
I like change that up. I'll go dark to light,
Yeah.
or like go light, dark, and then back to light. I'll change those flows up, but that's really where I focus on the most, is like how that meal is going to flow.
Okay. Is it more complementary, contrasting, a mixed bag?
It's all of those. I'm looking for complementing flavors. I'm looking for contrasting flavors. Sometimes I will make a dish that completely contrasts the beer entirely, and hope that it works.
Right.
90% of the time it does.
What do we got?
That would be buzz buttons.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are they're chive flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Buzz buttons are really cool.
They are cool.
I did actually, the very first few pairings I did, I don't need to do it again. We would do buzz buttons.
Yeah.
And like that was the opening course. You do it with an IPA.
Oh, cool.
Like that buzz button just like resets your palate. It's so sour that and then it has like a numbing feeling to it.
Yeah.
And so it just like, it numbs you, it resets your palate. You can super taste everything.
Everything's heightened because it's
Everything's heightened.
super refreshed.
But then like it mellows out the bitterness of the IPAs.
Okay.
And so you can actually taste the flavors of the hops. and it completely changes what you're drinking.
What about feedback from the pairings? Obviously, you've done quite a few over the last year. Does any of that feedback go into that process as well? What people have liked or what they don't like?
Yeah, certainly.
Anything that stands out?
I kind of just like mark the dishes that everyone like loved,
Sure. Okay.
and then I can keep them and repeat them
Easy
when I
peasy.
run out of ideas.
Yeah. Fair. Fair.
Especially since I'm changing it constantly. Like every beer pairing we do a different menu.
Take yourself out of your expertise. You're walking into a brand new brewery. What could somebody just look for off the top of their head to go, this might pair really well together and I'd have a great afternoon that way?
I would say like figure out what you want to drink first.
Yeah.
Get your drink, and then figure out your food. If you're going with if you love IPAs and you want IPAs, you can get fatty, spicy foods
Okay.
to go with it. If you're going for the darker, heavy stuff, go really fatty, go sausages. Wings are great with IPAs. Wings are great with lagers. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Very cool. I think that's great advice. I think it's going to make everything pop that way.
So this is burnt garlic sauce. So burn garlic, burn onions, and puree them all together. I'll go with potatoes, and we'll just take the softer bits of these onions. I don't like playing with my ingredients too much. I like them doing what they want to do. Since this is a smaller plate, I'll go ahead and cut that fish in half. And then this is our version of chili crisp. We do sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, a whole bunch of chilies. This is actually where I get the chili oil.
Okay.
Is off of the chili crisp.
Oh yeah, I like that. That nutty.
Just give that a little
Oh, yeah.
shine. And that looks good enough for me.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
we can do some dried flowers. Just let those kind of just fall wherever they want. There we go.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Bonus question: have you done any NA beer pairings yet, or
We've
non-alcoholic?
done NA beer pairings upon request.
Okay.
So as long as the brewery has those available, we're able to do it. It turned out really well. So we did it at Emporium.
Okay.
We had one person ask us for NAs, and they had quite a good selection of NAs, and we were actually able to follow fairly closely with the menu that we had planned.
Nice. Nice.
And we've thrown in kombucha as beer pairing options as well.
Okay.
Hop tea, if you've ever had
Oh yeah.
the hop
Oh, yeah.
tea, is at Jagged Mountain. We did do a dry January pairing.
Awesome.
So we did plan it out, and we used the hop tea, we used kombucha,
Nice.
and then a couple NAs.
We've got two awesome options from Gold Spot. We got the Oh So Zesty Lime Lager. I forgot the name of the Mexican lager.
It's just
And a
Mexican
Mexican lager. That's a
Yeah.
classic name. What are we looking for with what you've created here as far as pairing goes?
So these both are gonna be like super bright, crisp flavors, and so then we have contrasting sweeter notes, burnt notes, so less crisp. But then we also have like a nice light crispness from that asparagus that's going to bring in grassy notes and pair with the grassiness of the beer. That lime is going to bring in the acidity that you want in this dish.
Okay.
Um,
So either or is a great option.
yeah.
Okay.
And then there's going to be a little bit of spice, a little bit of kick to this, not much. and so that's going to help complement that beer as well. Spice with Mexican lagers is always a good way to go.
Yeah, I'm excited. A bit of that asparagus. Oh, obviously I use a fork a lot.
Oh yeah.
Show me the bite before you do it.
It's terrible. I need more fish. Good?
No.
No.
You made yourself conscious of
You
your
did.
pork skills.
You know how I feel about my food eating skills.
There you go.
So I'm getting a lot of that roasty right away. This brightens it up. The asparagus really comes in, again, like that off the grill with the chili. A little bit of spice here at the end. I didn't get too much onion in there. I love a good onion. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's that perfect summer to spring meal, right? Like Mexican lagers, obviously delicious right now with the summer heat. If you're out fishing, if you're out camping, you can have all these ingredients really accessible to you, right?
Yeah, this is a meal you can pull together wherever you're at. It doesn't take a whole lot of extra work.
The nuttiness of the chili.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and then the lime just really sends it up. If you want that more brightness to it, really just pulls out the spice and the more bright notes for that matter. I really like the contrasting of the nutty in there though as well. Honestly, that might be my favorite part.
All right, do you have any final questions? He's got a line.
Oh yeah. I'm
He's
good.
in demand.
I think we nailed it. Thank you so much.
That sounds great.
Let us know. I'll be over. We're gonna enjoy this. And
Yeah, I'm gonna take a sip of
yeah,
beer,
please do. Take your. I mean, this is an incredible creation. I like what the pork fat does to the fish. I mean, I love trout on its own, but I feel like
it's just so lean. It needs a little bit.
Is that fat factor? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well done. Thank you again. Thank you so much. We'll be hanging around. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you guys for joining us. We hope you enjoyed, because we definitely did. The amazing Chef Jared Kendall. It was an amazing pleasure to explore, hear his way of like preparing food, thinking about food, going local and organic. He had to open up the food truck, so we were a little bit rushed on there. So I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more from you, exactly like how you experienced that meal, because I will do fish every now and then, but with the pork in there, I did not do it. But I did try like potatoes and the asparagus. Right. And there's definitely an abundance of chili oil, and that spice was incredible. It's not spicy, but that spice with the lagers were great. But like, go into a little bit more depth of like how that was for you.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to sit there all day. That was the part that really triggered for me. It was that good. You know, you sit down and you have that meal, and it's that perfect complement. It's savory, it's salty, it's spicy, it's a little bit of sweet, right, from the asparagus, and it's earthy, and it just sucks you right in. From the presentation, right, I got the head of that fish, and it was sitting there waiting for me, filleted open with this beautiful pork fat just oozing into the fish skin. And it was like bite, sip, bite,
those are my
sip.
favorite meals.
And I wanted to sit there all day, but I just couldn't do that. He had to open up. He had people waiting.
Literally people waiting.
Literally people waiting. And that kind of meal, right? I wanted to take down both of those Mexican lagers to myself, right, to experience the whole thing.
And what you don't know about
that's like one of those meals I could sit there for like an hour easy.
So what you don't know about Liz is Liz can eat forever. Not that she eats a ton.
I can.
But she can make a meal last an eternity, and that is like your dream spot, especially in something that hits the bite, drink, drink, bite, drink. And I love that too, but then I'm just like, and then I down a bottle of wine and I'm like, I'm drinking full.
It's a beautiful experience, right? Like that is
Liz is like 8 bites into her meal and just looking at me in disgust. And I'm like,
That's not true. I'm over there like, how did you rush this? This is not a dating profile, but I always tell people, like, straight up, like, dining out is, like, literally my favorite thing to do. One of my favorite things to do is, like, sit down and eat with people, right? Because if you read the book, if you listen to these Brews and Bites, it's really about that sensory experience, right? I want to see it. I want to touch it. I want to feel it. I want to experience it. I want to hear it. I want to taste. I want to do everything. Like, every sense of me is completely heightened, right? It is, to me, that is the ultimate drug.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing. And that is what this meal was. And so, Jared, if you're listening, if you're watching, I mean, kudos, sir. I cannot wait to do it again when the time comes. And A+.
It was incredible. So there you go. And as per always, after all that, if that didn't make you want to read more about Liz's passion, this is her book, The Beer Pairing Basics. You can get it on Amazon. Link is below. All of that passion oozes out in her words and as you read it, which is what makes it such a good, addicting read. And you'll learn a thing or two in there. And we are going to keep publicly peer pressuring her into book number 2.
It's in the works.
Just keep doing it, and eventually it'll be here. But it was incredible. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah.
Liz, so glad you got to do it. I was pretty pumped. I was like, I'll do a little fish. And then he's like, I poked it full of pork because it needs more fat. And I was like, sad. Definitely can't do the pork. If I have a sneak, which I really don't ever do, because I just kind of hit a point I don't enjoy meat that often. Like, I just don't enjoy the meat flavors, but definitely not pork. Well, piggies can't do the piggies.
So hopefully, final little caveat. It also, minus the pork, reminded me very much of, like, a meal like my mom. And
I mean, they're incredible cooks, George.
Yeah, my mom and George would cook. George is my stepdad. And that is totally, like, right up their alley. Yeah. Minus all the oils, minus the pork fat. They don't need that. But they can take that fish, a little butter, a little salt and pepper, some onions. They probably wouldn't even do the potato. It would just be like asparagus, and it would be like steamed asparagus. Yeah. So they're two like juxtaposing meals, right? Like, one is very basic, very simple, and it highlights the fish even more, right? You're getting every element flavor of the fish in this trout pairing, which I think is incredibly special. I like that too. And when it's me and those two, we do sit down for an hour to 2 hours and we eat that meal. And we
drink 3 bottles of wine.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But they're like little bites, and you're like, bite, drink, bite, drink, bite, drink, bite, drink. So that's one way to look at it. And that is totally fine, totally amazing, totally awesome. Absolutely a top 5 favorite thing to do. And then on the other side, you take Jared's creativity, because he knows his audience. He's right around here. There are a select few that like that earthy, fishy flavor, right? Just maybe a little sweet, salty butter going on. But it is way more common to come across those that want, like, that fatty insertion, spicy insertion, right? Big, bold flavors.
And a little spice, right? Colorado's known for its spicy food and spicy green chilies. Like, you add the spice, like, and again, it wasn't spicy, but there was that little peppery kick to it because of it.
Totally.
So, definitely not. It's just different. It's not better or worse. It's literally just different. And I think the going along with, like, pick your drink, pick your food, whichever order you want to do it. There are ways to kind of probably do that a little bit better. Wink, wink. You'll learn more about that later. But, you know, if you are going on more of that simplistic, I think you're going to want more of a delicate flavor, because you're basically pairing it with the hero of the meal, which is the fish.
Exactly.
Where I think more of the hero of this meal was the fatty and spicy.
It 100%
right?
was.
So that's why the Mexican lager makes sense for this. There you go.
And it's summer. Viva la Mexican lager.
Viva la Mexican lager. So, anyways, that was incredible. It was so much fun. We're totally happy with this elongated a little bit longer because it does combine our brews and bites. So hopefully you learned a little bit. I learned a lot of different techniques from how he was cooking, and it was fun. It was a great experience.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jared. See you soon. We're going to discuss the delightful world of, I bet you can guess it, beer and food pairings, because that's the theme. Let's go. And we're going to talk about the timeless tradition of British beers and cheese with ales, and then the Belgian practice of saisons with seafood.
Yum.
I mean, when we were over in Belgium, we ate so many mussels.
Mussels.
Oh, so good. It was incredible.
Garlic.
And then
Saisons.
you can't also ignore the classic English combination of stouts and oysters.
Talking about classics, what about German bratwurst and local beers, i.e., Helles, Pilsners, and spicy IPAs and some spicy curries and IPAs.
Could be a mix. The
IPAs are great with spicy food, is what you'll ultimately take out of it.
It's easy enough.
Yeah. And we're also going to hear some fun facts about some local and non-local. I don't think any of them are local. Culinary legends.
Ooh.
Who could they be?
Who could they be? Martha Stewart. Anthony Bourdain once paired a Vietnamese beer called Bia Hai, which is known as fresh beer, with a street pho, and called it the ultimate street food pairing experience. But what is Bia Hai? It is fresh, it is local, it's really cost-effective lager, often sold in small bars or on the street corners for as little as 20 cents to 50 cents per glass. It's brewed really, really quickly. It turns over very fast. It's at like 3% ABV. And they actually deliver it daily to these bars. Like the actual steel kegs on motorbikes get delivered every single day. There's such a high demand for it, and it's just crisp, refreshing, and it's not even regulated. What was world-renowned chef Julia Child's favorite beer to pair with her French cuisine? A Belgian Saison. She thought that the complexity of the beer went perfectly with her food, and honestly, I don't disagree. Saisons pair really, really well with delicate, delicious dishes. Stouts and oysters are a pairing that actually date back to the 19th century England. The creamy chocolatey stout enhances the freshness of the oysters. This was actually a meal for the working people because there was such an abundance of oysters around, and the heartiness of the stout made it a very fulfilling meal. IPAs were originally brewed with higher bitter levels and higher alcohol levels to help survive the travel from England over to India. But what we know now that they didn't know then is the extra bitterness of an IPA goes so well with spicy food like curry and Indian food. Oh, it's so good together. Are you in Belgium looking for the perfect food and beer pairing? A Saison with mussels is going to be absolutely great. The spicy and fruity of the Saison go incredibly well with the braininess of the mussels. But a piece you may not have known is Saisons used to be brewed in the winter for the seasonal Saison workers in the summer. But eating mussels in Belgium became a tradition in the winter months when there was less fish around. So unfortunately, they probably didn't even get to realize the magic of this food pairing way back when in like the 1700s. Bummer. They created something magical and they didn't even know. There are over 7 million liters of beer sold each year at Oktoberfest, plus countless bratwurst. So what makes this pairing work year after year? The maltiness from the beer pairs perfectly with the spiciness of the brats. Roar! Thomas Jefferson was an avid brewer, and he liked to pair it with meals at his estates in Monticello. One of the earliest known pairings he did was with his commonly brewed low ABV beer that he would pair with breads and pastries, and he has it documented. You can actually find the recipe online for the beer. I don't think the breads are pastries, but it showed the appreciation for beer and food in American culture from a long time ago, and that's pretty cool. Thanks, TJ. Probably because it was cheap, too. Hey, you look like you could use a new super cool beer-related shirt brought to you by the coolest podcast people you know that also talk about beer and wear beer-related shirts. Buddy by Beer Podcast.com. How cool they are. Came out great. Let's get back to business. No, wait. This is the business. Hey! Michael Jackson, the beer hunter, not the musician, had a ton of favorite beer and food pairings. But his favorite was a beautiful lambic with a lovely creamy cheese. The reason he liked it was the tart, complex flavors of the lambic complement the creamy, nutty textures of the cheese perfectly. She's not wrong. Kind of like a wine and cheese pairing. It's delicious. I love sour so much. There's a blueberry sour. So freaking good. In Britain, beer and cheddar was a flagship. They've been best friends for centuries. The caramel notes really make the aged cheddar pop. And this was actually a daily staple in the 1800s. If you're looking to get the fundamentals on beer and food pairing, check out Liz's book in the link below. But if you're looking to hone in your skills even more, check out The Brewmaster's Table by Garrett Oliver. It is the ultimate guide to really elevating your food and beer pairing. Pah! Wah! 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 Dun 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 dun! Bum, bum. It's like I used to flip bottles for a living, and then I dropped it. Thank you for joining us in this flavorful exploration of beer and food pairings. Hopefully you learned something new and fun and interesting, because that's the goal. And inspires you to maybe make something delicious for your mouthful later.
We are going to continue our journey into the delicious world of beer and food pairings with our latest top 10s. This episode's top 10s is how to pair food and beer pairing.
What?
Tips. Top 10 tips. So whether you're been around the block a few times and you like to call yourself a beer aficionado, or maybe you're a casual enthusiast, or you're a total noob on the street, this is meant to elevate your dining experience and give you some tips and tricks to walk into the world with.
From balancing flavors and intensities to experiments with new combinations, we will uncover everything you need to know to enhance your culinary and craft beer adventure. This is our top 10, starting with number 10. Match the intensities. Ensure the intensity of the beer matches the intensity of the food. Light dishes like salads pair really well with light beers like pilsners, or robust beers like steaks pair with strong beers like stouts.
Number 9, complement your flavors. Acid loves acid.
I love your hat.
Can I get a fruity IPA for my fruity hat?
I'm going to say your fruity friend.
That'd have been better.
Well.
Opportunity squandered. For example, a citrusy IPA can enhance the flavors of a lemony seafood dish. But as the Belgians say, go and saison, maybe a citrusy IPA can enhance your hot wings.
Ooh, hot wings. And to contradict that, I'm going to suggest contrasting flavors. Sometimes contrasting flavors create a delightful experience. A sweet dish like chocolate cake can pair really wonderfully with like a bitter stout, because they help balance each other out instead of pairing it with something sweet again that now you just kind of have this overload of sweet. So instead it kind of balances each other out.
Number 7, always consider the bitterness. The bitterness of the beer should be balanced with the dish. Highly bitter beers are best paired with spicy foods, i.e. that's why we keep bringing up IPAs. The bitter, the better, the butter, the better, the acid that loves it. Tame the heat, while less bitter beers are suitable for lighter eats.
I didn't know you could talk so fast.
That might be the fastest I've ever spoken in my life.
It was like real words too. That was amazing. It wasn't just like the blah, 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 blah. It was like real words. Wow. So number 6, I'm going to try to compete with that. Use beer in cooking. It pairs because it's in there. Incorporate it into the cooking process. This creates a seamless flavor between your dish and your drink. For example, using a porter in the marinade of your grilled meats to enhance the pairing together.
Yum, 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 yum.
Yum.
Number 5, balance the sweetness, right? Continuing on that train, it's all about balance. Sweet beers, fruit lambics, milk stouts, they pair with salty and spicy foods, right? Because you're creating a balance, and this is how it's really important of whether or not you're going to do it well. But don't worry about doing it well, just do it to where you like it. The sweetness balances out the saltiness or spiciness, and that's where that harmonious blend comes into effect.
Number 4?
I think 4. Yep.
Seems like a good guess. Mind the mouthfeel. This is kind of something that I feel like gets overlooked, but the texture of the mouthfeel should complement the dish. Creamy beers like nitro stouts pair well with other creamy dishes.
Makes sense.
Crisp carbonated beers pair really well with fried food. You do like the big Pilsner with the fried food and the hot and the heat and the extra really highly carbonated bubbles with the heat and the richness of the oil are just incredible together.
I was just thinking the next time I show up to a party, I get invited to a party, I'm going to bring that marshmallow salad with some Guinness. And I'm going to be the life of the party. I bet that's fucking awesome. All right.
The party I want to opt out of.
It's so good. I love marshmallow salad. All right.
Actually, this made me, I was like, I really want a Pilsner with a mozzarella stick right now.
Sounds good too. All right. Just getting hungrier and hungrier over here. But not
colder.
hangrier, just hungrier.
Colder.
Number 3, we're going to remember to match seasonal and regional cuisines, right? Remember where you are. Remember what time of the year it is. It's going to play a big part into the dishes that you're pairing with. Yep. Same region. A German Pilsner pairs not just with a mozzarella stick, but definitely with a bratwurst and some sour.
A bra's worth of bratwurst.
I mean, that sounds like a good Saturday night to me. How do you jungle that? Talk about balance. How contradicting is a bra full of sausage?
But what a great way to get your food presented. It'd be so silly. You'd be so confused. How many wings would you like? A D cup.
I'm going to the double D, please.
How many wings come in a D cup? About like 15 on each side, so 30 wings total.
I would like the Wing Wednesday special, please. All right.
Okay, sorry, bringing it in.
German Pilsners, bratwurst, Belgian Jubels, Belgian stew. Believe it or not.
Weird.
And seasonality, right? Like, look at what is available and in season at your local grocery store, your farmer's market, right? What are your local breweries producing this week, that week, the next week, January, February, March, April, September? It does not matter. Pair them together.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about supply and demand. If there's an oversupply of things, turns out, hopefully it's not because there's a backlog of it. It means because it's in season. It makes sense. That's why you should go after it.
I always like the advice of if it grows together, it goes together. And that's kind of the same concept, right? Because brewers are going to be using the same things, exactly what you're saying, that you're using. Is exactly what you're saying. So if it grows together, it goes together.
I was just thinking, do sausages grow with bras? Because
they might now. Can't wait to see.
I was trying to look you in the eye.
Till
And all I could
Sam's
see is
AI image is going to be atrocious of that.
This H white cup, like classic white underwire bra, which is
Just sausages oozing out.
Oh man.
Oh goodness. Oh man. All right, number 2. Pick your beer first. Depending on the beers you choose will directly influence the food that you pair it with. Lagers go with wings. IPAs go with spicy food. We're going on these basics because, again, they're simple. They're easy to go. If you want to get more advanced, hit us up, read a book, do all the things. There's more advanced, but we're kind of hitting on
Chef Jared.
Talk to Chef Jared. But yeah, pick your beer first.
All right, and number 1, most importantly, just like good advice, life advice, not lice on life. Number 1, experiment and have fun.
Have fun.
Do not be afraid to experiment with different pairings. The best way to learn is what works best for you. Try various combinations.
Yeah.
See what you enjoy the most. It could be a bra full of sausages, or it could just simply be a lager and IPA with some spicy wings.
Yep.
Keep an open mind and have fun with it.
Have fun with it.
Dear God, laugh. The secret to life is a good sense of humor.
And
Enjoy
some good
it.
food, in my opinion.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a great piece in there. Like, I personally, I don't overly like IPAs with really a whole lot of food. They're not my go-to. That's just not like my jam for it. So
The curry is pretty good.
yeah, and I get there are some things, but they tend to be like a lot of meat, and so it's
Yeah,
because I'm
that's
not
fair.
eating like I just don't tend to like those. But it doesn't mean they're bad. It's just not my jam. So experiment. Just because what we're recommending doesn't work for you doesn't mean something else will. And if there's a pairing you love, share it with us. Let us know.
That's the goal here. We want to hear what you have to say.
We covered everything from matching intensity and flavors to considering mouthfeel and regional cuisines.
Amen to that. Remember, we ended with it. We're saying it again. The key to any great pairings is balance, complementing or contrasting flavors, and most importantly, have fun with the process.
Beep, beep, beep.
Don't be afraid to get out there, get out of your comfort zone, have a good time.
Have a good time. We hope that these tips inspire you to create your own memories and dining experiences with your favorite brews. And if you want to experience some knowledge,
Let me hit you with some knowledge.
with your brews and bites, make sure you hit up Sam with Shut Up and Drink Trivia. Not What's Up and Drink Trivia. Shut Up and Drink
Could
Trivia.
be a subsidiary.
And if you're an establishment looking for trivia, hit him up. He's the
Check him
jam.
out.
He does lots of cool stuff and lots of fun, unique things. So,
It's also a riot to hang out with.
and it's a good time.
Guaranteed to have a fun time.
Truth. I agree with that.
Yes. That's going to do it for this week's exciting episode on the Body by Beer podcast. We covered a lot of territory here. We went from Kirin's big move to New Belgium Brewing, learned some fantastic beer and food pairing tips, and enjoyed Chef Jared Kendall's culinary magical skills. You got to give it to the guy.
Hope
He's doing amazing things.
He's doing amazing things. We hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we clearly have. Remember that the art of beer and food pairing can elevate your dining experience. Don't be afraid to experiment. Have some fun. And also, it's okay to not like the same things. Find what you like. That's the joy of it. That's fun.
That's right. And if you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, leave a review, share with your friends. Join us in a couple of weeks for our season finale of season 2 and a little bit more of some craft beer adventures and hopeful insights.
Here you go. Ta-ta for now.
Au revoir.
Bye. Au revoir.